Thanks. Thank you, everyone. Just checking if this microphone is working. Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you very much. Back the room is okay. You should be okay now. No, okay. I'll speak louder. Yeah. Thanks. Okay. Thanks for having me here. Thanks, London Tech Leader and 10X for hosting this event. My name is Hamid Silatani. I'm co-founder and CEO of Uptime Labs. So just first thing to put out there, public speaking is not my forte. This is spotlight is definitely not helping me. So please keep your smiles all the way through to give me feeling that you enjoy what I'm talking about. So today I want to share my 15 years of experience in incident response and reliability and resiliency within mission critical environment, and what I really learned and the big problem or gap I found so important that made me leave my comfortable job 2 years ago, almost 3 years, in the middle of COVID to start Uptime Labs. Many people thought it's a stupid idea. Hopefully, by end of the talk, you have a different opinion. If you think it's still stupid, please don't share it with me. won't encourage me anymore. So everyone talks about people being a very important asset to any business, and no one argues with that. But it's very hard to explain in what ways and how. And I'm going to talk about that today. I will call this talk a success if by end of it I can offer a vocabulary and a language to you so you can describe in what ways people can have a very positive impact in your incident response and resiliency, and what qualities we win as executives we need to invest in our people. IT incidents are expensive. That's no secret to anyone. The longer it takes, the more it costs. And broadly, that cost of incidents falls into 5 categories. There's a direct cost of incidents, differs industry to industry, between £300,000 an hour to £500,000 an hour at the higher end in financial services, and could be a lot higher. And I get these numbers, by the way, from a strategy report done by Enterprise Strategy Group on cost of incidents. So direct costs easily can add up to above $4 million a year for a model organization of 1,500 engineers. The other cost group, which is probably more important but less obvious, is engineering opportunity costs. The time engineers spending on fixing an incident is the time that they're not spending on creating code, revenue generating code. And it's not just that time. There's cost of context switching as well. And even it's not just production incidents. If you step back, incidents and outages in lower environment tests and UAT have even more impact because they impact all the engineering populations in an organization. And that can come up to £9 million just on its own for the model organization. So I think this bit is less appreciated. The third category of the cost is cultural drain. Every engineer who is on call finds it stressful and disrupting people's social life. So it contributes to attrition. And the research finds that around $400,000 there. Then there is regulatory and reputational aspect, more relevant right now to financial services, but I think other industries will face it as well soon. And somewhat hidden costs here is return on investment and tools. Monitoring tools in our industry, we know they're not cheap. They are third top cost in IT budget lines after people and infrastructure. And yet, after that multi-million pounds investment a year, only a fraction of engineers can use those tools effectively. So rest of that investment goes wasted. And all this contributes to huge costs of incidents. So as executives, how do we respond to this big problem? And broadly, there are 4 categories of responses. Either we tighten the processes, more incident management, change management, the ITSM. And tighten is an interesting keyword here, because the tighter you get, the more brittle your system becomes. And there's a whole other talk on impact of brittleness on the system. Then tooling upgrades. I see many examples that companies moving from monitoring tool A to monitoring tool B, and ironically, at the same time, other companies moving from monitoring tool B to monitoring tool A to improve incident response. Because monitoring always comes up on post-incident reviews. And I have a whole other talk on why is that and how justified that is. The other group of answers is, well, US elections in the horizon, so I played with the words, make architecture robust again. So is in technology investments, tech for tech, moving to microservices. And finally, hire more people, first-line support, outsource or in-house, or SRE teams cross-cutting to improve resiliency. All of these, they're important, and they have an important and have an effect in improving the resiliency and uptime. But they're quite expensive. So here I'm taking a view from within a financial services organization. Typically, this is type of conversation you see in the boardroom, where risk pushing from perspective of preventative, detective, and corrective actions, and IT looking at it from tech, process, and people perspective. And very easily, you can see that in our typical organization of 1,500 engineers, the cost racks up above £7 million towards even 10 million and more. But despite this huge investment, have we been able to solve the problem? So when we talk to people, yes, there have been progress, but it's still incident response is a big problem. If you look at the incident stats, average 40 incidents a month. By the way, I actually think the more incidents, the better. Happy to talk about that separately. But the problem is average response time is quite high, 24 hours. Then we speak to executives. How do you feel after all that investment? And the answer is, okay, we did something. I feel comfortable that I've taken action, but I get a sleepless night. How are we going to deal with the next inevitable big incidents? There's no objective data to tell us how we will perform there. And very commonly, I hear that incidents in our organization, we have too many of them and they take far too long. Okay, so they're not happy. Then we speak to practitioners and engineers in the front line. They find incident response chaotic, stressful, and it still depends on who's on the call. A few heroes that every organization have. So clearly, there's still a big problem going on. I'm personally not surprised to see it. It's almost like, if I can make an analogy, okay, we all want to do Agile. Does buying Jira makes us good at Agile? No. We need a lot more than that. So we went back, because of my job, I speak to many stakeholders, executive practitioners within organizations. So what is next then? How are we going to go from here and solve the rest of the problem? And I broadly hear 2 types of responses. Majority of the people, I've put it in the category of more of the same. We need more tech resiliency project and tighter processes and more expensive monitoring tools. Chuck in AI ops, that's something new and cool and probably solve our problem. But I yet don't believe in that. I think we will do the same thing, we'll get the same results. So it has benefits, but I think it gets into territory of a diminishing return. But there is something more interesting. Smaller, but growing population of practitioners in the industry who are starting to look differently to incident response and resiliency. They look at the people. Okay, we're talking about they need better prepared people. And when you ask them what better prepared means, then you start to see some skill sets that currently is not mentioned in any CVs, but clearly they have an impact on incident response, like anticipation. Engineers who can start thinking that, that web proxy, the connections there is filling up. What's going to happen next? What I can do to avoid it, okay? Or decision making. Making a decision when stakes are high, it's hard. it's probably easier not to make a decision because you don't want to be the person that, restarted that service and the whole thing went down, okay? Or reasoning. So these skills are very important, and these are the things that we need to start focusing on our people on it, okay? The other thing is learning from incidents. Not the big ones, P1s and P2s, where they have all the spotlight, and because of that, they tend to be political and they're sanitized. But the less severe one and near misses are where the gold mine is. Looking into those and learning from those. And finally, continuous resiliency. The same as, continuous delivery. Practicing and practicing and practicing resiliency. That's where you're going to get resiliency. So I'm personally very excited about this growing community here. But then, if the second kind of group of answers makes sense, why so many people still think about more investment in tools and processes? Thankfully, Daniel Kahneman, Nobel Prize winner, behavioral economist, and psychologists have a good answer for us. Well, have the answer for us in his book, Thinking Fast and Slow. Our brain, the way it functions, naturally replaces hard questions with the easy ones that we can answer. So when we think about how we can get better at incident response, that question is not, without us knowing subconsciously, is changed to what new tool I need to get better at this, okay? Because deferring the responsibility to tool is easier. And that's the trap we've fallen into. It's almost like if I ask you in the room, are you a happy person? Most probably, you start thinking about your mood now in the last few days, and that drives your answer. But question of happiness is a tough question, and you need to gather a lot of data points over the year to see if you're happy or not. So this is the trap that is affecting us. Now that we know these traps, let's step back and look at the hard question, how we can really dig deeper there. And that comes to understanding sources of resiliency in our organization. And in this example, I'm going to particularly focus on incident response and an operational aspect. If we consider technology robustness and processes as a hygiene, the bare hygiene that we need to have, then really the key factor is the people, is the interaction and relationship that people have with each other and with the technology and the processes. That's what's going to make a difference. The three elements here, I'm just scratching the surface. Okay, there's a lot of big books and pieces of work here on each of these topics. The first one is extensibility. At the edge of our limits, how our system and our people operate. Do we break, or can we extend a little bit, recover, and come back from the crisis? The second one is the people. The realization that our system, our platform, is not just the program and the bits and bytes. It's actually people that run those softwares and write those softwares. They're in a very important part of that system. And that's very easy to prove. Right now, if I imagine you decide you're not going to give anyone access to production, any ops people access to production for a week. Raise your hand if you're comfortable doing that and still think at the end of the week your platform will be running. How many people think that if no ops or no support gets closer to production, anywhere near production, the platform will run? Great, I see one hand. Now, same question for 2 weeks' time. How many of you think your platform will be still running? Okay, you still have somewhere. 4 weeks? No. So that proves that people are a key part of our system. So when we start thinking about our system as a socio-technical platform, then we start designing it for the people aspect as well. You know, the investment that goes to technology, the same investment should go on people. And we start thinking about what skills these people need to be able to keep the system running. And the third one is the cultural aspect. In an organization where bad news or difficult facts are celebrated, mainly by executives, they tend to have far better resiliency and many other benefits. Ron Westrum has done a great work, research on this topic. It calls them generative organizations, when people are freely happy to talk about real problem on the front line and they're celebrated. The other key aspect is looking at incidents as norm, not exception. Just that simple change of mindset makes a huge difference in the culture of organization. And finally, learning from incidents. So now we know what are these sources of resiliency. But is IT really, are we discovering this problem like for the first time? No. Safety critical industries like aviation and nuclear power plants, because impact of failure there was so catastrophic, they're at least 30 years ahead of us. And the key fact that they have accepted is no matter how their systems are, these systems are always functioning at a degraded level and they need people to keep it operational. And because of that, they have developed different layers of defense on the technical side. In aviation, very clear guide and stringent test on how the technology should be resilient and be tested before it gets anywhere near production. Same with power plants, nuclear power plants, okay? Regulations, very well defined, require certifications at many different levels, again, across both industries. The human side and skills, again, both industries, huge emphasis and investment, unbelievable for us. You know, if you see numbers, we'll be shocked. Goes on people's skill set and training. You know, the simulations are very popular in both industries. And then you look at IT. You know, I really struggle to find any regulations or think about technical. Okay, our best bet is our principal engineers have released a book by Michael Nygaard and applying that practices. There's no guidance, there's no guidelines. You know, you can design anything and put it out there. So that's a huge gap there. Look at the regulations. The only thing you can see is financial services that starting to wake up, like DORA, Digital Operation Resiliency Act, but nothing else. I'm pretty sure other industries will follow. And then there's a huge gap in the human side. Where is the investment on people? Where are they going to get those skills? And this is where I really think there's a big gap and we have a lot of work to do. So people may ask, hang on a second, you know, we do invest on people. Last year I spent £1 million to build an SRE team to improve resiliency. Does that not count? Well, good question, but I'm afraid headcount doesn't count because it's not about how many people you have. It's about the skill set of people. It's about how their relationship with the technology and processes and how they know how to use them. And when you look at it from that lens, the answer is very, very little investment. And when I picture it this way, everyone starts having aha moments. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, it's obvious that we are not investing anymore. I had this conversation earlier on with the CTO of a FTSE 250 financial services, and like his reaction was, okay, I can see it now. I invest millions in technology and processes, but very little on people part, and that needs to change. People, process, and tech must work together effectively. So when we start to open it up, it becomes a very obvious gap. I think we have a huge work ahead of us as executives in IT industry to step up to our responsibility. IT is a safety critical industry. It's not maybe it's not called like that, but it is. People's life depends on it. Their money depends on it. Our transport, communication, health. And we need to take it as serious. And we have to catch up with other industries as well. Thankfully, they have gone through this road. So I finish and leave you with this sentence at the end. Okay. 5 years from now, if we look back, we will find it shocking. We will say, it's unbelievable that we expected people to fix critical incidents without any practice, without having any skills on the job, and have to learn it on the job. How unbelievable is that? Imagine you're on a plane, The pilot announces, "Dear passengers, we just experienced a serious incident. None of us know how to deal with it, but don't worry, we'll figure it out." It's that obvious. So if you're interested in the topic, if you don't want to learn more about it, please get in touch with me. My contact details are here. And also, we have a dedicated, because it's so important, dedicated community on this topic of incident response and resiliency called OOPS. Next week, we have an event on AWS, so you're all more than welcome to come in. Thank you. Thank you.